Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're back. It is the CJCJ Show, episode 8, number 8. That's actually not that many, and it feels like we've done a bit more. But until we decided to start numbering them, we're back. It is the start of a new split. We're into the winter, even though that doesn't make sense where I'm right now. And we have special guests today, none other than Johnny Boy and Mr. Yummy Cheese Man. A bit of Aussie flavour and some European action. We're going to be previewing the entire off-season, I guess, just roster moves, and then EU this weekend. Gentlemen, welcome, and obviously Chrome and Jarzo as well, the usual brigade. How are we doing, boys?
I feel like we're not special guests, CJ, because we spent so much time together, me, you, Johnny, on the ranking streams as well, that it's almost like par for the course.
Yeah, the crew's kind of hanging out. But look, I needed some Rocket League, not historians, but some global experts here, because we are going to be, looking at the entire scene. And even though Johnny obviously hates NA, we will be talking about NA as well.
It's fine, because actually, there's a good chance that by the end of this split, like most of the players qualifying to Winter Major from NA are not even North American, so it's good. It's going well.
That's a good. What are the chances that we get Furia and Complexity both at the major?
And Gen.G. I feel like it's a
90%
non-zero chance, a decent chance.
Could happen.
Let's just say it could happen.
Pretty sure he said something. He said, "Hot take: they both make the major." Is that just
Complexity did look good.
Is that just Jorby, like, throwing out hot takes, and then eventually, like, it's like you're just throwing in, like, you're casting a rod, and eventually one hooks, and he's going to be like, I'm the smartest person in the world.
The T-Bates method?
Yeah.
And as soon as he gets it, it's just his entire identity.
I think it's genuinely, like, possible. Furia, obviously a big upgrade, in my opinion, with Lost, and Complexity looked really good last split. And just need to improve a bit more, and then they'll be there. So, and Gen.G are going to make it, surely.
So, based on that, Chrome, you've got NA have 2 spots for North American actual teams. Are you going to be able to get one of those spots?
I think so, right? Anything can happen, right? If Gen.G can go out and win a LAN as a brand new team, I think anything's possible. So we just got to focus on ourselves and hope for the best.
How are you boys looking?
At least way better in scrims than last split. A lot more serious and working on our crap that we need to work on. So,
do you think that's because just you guys are just getting more used to LJ, or have you guys made any?
It didn't really have to be getting used to LJ. It's just like we weren't mentally fit to win as a team.
What does that mean?
So that's what happened at the major? Like,
kind of, yes. I can't talk about too many specifics, but we weren't just mentally there to win as a team.
Okay, so you guys hadn't had the fire yet under your ass.
I felt like the only fire we had was for the first event of the split. I feel like that was when the very first regional, and then it just went downhill after that.
So what's changed now off season? Like post major, you went okay at the major, had a few good series, had a few rough ones.
The major was terrible. Just because, the things I talked about.
Yeah.
And it's just being a lot more serious about our position and where we're at. And because anything's possible, if we screw up again, things could change, So we got to be on top of it. We want to win. We can't just allow ourselves to act like idiots. Because, Gen.G was kind of like a wake-up call for our region, I think. Because, they're the team that worked the hardest, and the way they go about their practice leaps and bounds better than everyone, I think. So... And then they outright won, right? Just from that alone. So,
yeah,
that alone is just motivation to be better.
What were your expectations as a team for the major? Because you just changed the roster, obviously.
At least the top 8, because you don't know how someone's gonna perform LJ first ever LAN event, right? First time ever being at that level. It's the same thing with Dan when we first picked up Dan. You don't really know how high your ceiling is. So for us, it was just a top 8 because I felt like we were consistent enough. I felt like our boot camp was actually pretty good outside of Arsenal getting sick, but even then we still had some really good practice. And then it just fell apart on match days.
You think
Arsenal?
Yeah, so Daniel had a bit of at the major, felt like it was a bit of a one-man band. I know we sort of talked about it a little bit. Chrome, are you guys trying to play more, as a team play style going into this split rather than trying to rely on individuals?
I mean, yeah, we have to. I mean, at LAN, it really showed too. Like, yeah, Dan was like freak of nature, like on the sticks, like solo play mechanics and all that. But a lot of him, like in the KC series, that game 1, he went rogue and was kind of like taking the ball from his teammates when his teammates are calling it, which is why we double committed and conceded on 0 seconds. And that kind of went downhill from there. I'm not saying it's all his fault. It's just like we can't afford for someone to just do their own thing as a team, and we have to all be on the same page and all be like understanding what each other are doing. Because then it just becomes solo standard. Then when it's solo standard like that, you don't know who's going for the ball. You don't have trust in your teammates anymore, and then it just falls apart.
That's fact.
What was your thoughts on Secret, by the way? Because you obviously versed them, lost to them, and they came top 4 in the end. And that was probably the match that determined your top 8 more than anything else.
I mean, going into that series, I felt like we were going to lose to begin with, just because like how mentally drained we were out of it at the beginning. And trying to get the guys back in form, it just didn't help out. And then after we lost that, it was like a rude awakening for us. I'm honestly surprised though they went on to beat Moist after us and V1 as well. Like I was not expecting that, but I honestly expected them to beat us just for how we were acting at the event. But hey, they parked the bus on defense and played their play style, and it managed to work out for them. So hats off to them.
Yeah.
Top 4 is crazy. Do you think people are going to forget about that? Like, I nearly like don't.
Yes.
I don't know if it's because of the like what happened at the major because Gen.G
Yeah, they
won
are.
and stuff. Forget about it.
I mean,
Yeah, I've
they're,
kind of
they're
already
being
forgot.
forgotten right now, aren't they? By like so many people already. Like
Secret, yeah,
No one here.
it is true.
Secret did not get anywhere near the credit they deserve. I feel like everybody just brushed it under the rug, like, yeah, they just got lucky or something, and like coped their way to understanding that result. But they actually did really well. And they did it with a playstyle that wasn't normal for South America. Like I feel like it's a really interesting. For me, it's interesting because of the way they did it. Like they didn't just ball chase like usual. They were just super defensive, sitting in net defensive.
Oh, that's always been their
it's
playstyle
unheard
every
of.
event too. It's always been their playstyle. That's how they beat BDS when BDS would overcommit their second man at Spring Split London. They just got punished with mechanical
And
plays on the
it doesn't
transition.
tend to work, right? It's never one that goes deep into events. So the fact that they've actually done it with some crazy saves, it doesn't really make sense. But
I mean,
KV1,
how many times have you
yeah.
seen?
would rather forget about it.
KV1 had like a monkey move performance where he was just like reading every single play and just deflecting and stopping every single play. And it's just like, if he's playing like that, I'm not surprised I got top 4.
I mean, how many other times have you seen that kind of play style at a LAN event?
You see it a lot. You actually do see it a
Not
lot.
from Sam though.
Definitely not from
a
from
lot of
Secret, you do.
nervous
Secret,
teams
you
going
do.
like that.
Well, from Secret, yeah.
And the club as well. When we were prepping for them for Worlds, they were very defensive as well because they had Furia in the same region as them. And when you're playing against Furia, you have to adjust your playstyle accordingly to them because they're quicker and more mechanical. So you can't just play reckless against a team like that.
I think that's also, speaking of other teams in SAM, the reason why people forget Secret is because they were so dominated by the club throughout the split that there's still that kind of question. Like, are they that good or is it just that one run? Will they be able to do it again? I think they will dominate SAM now that Secret have lost. Oh, that's that's a terrible name. But I think they will do well. And I think that's when people start giving them the credit.
Do you think like the copium though is that like just because they played defensively, everyone's like, oh, it's just this like unique play style, which is why they got top 4. They're not actually a good team because I feel like that's sort of the mindset that everyone's taking.
I think so. I think it's partly that, and partly like I think like the pros have a large influence in it, so no one's like really tweeting about them and like giving them props publicly because it isn't a flashy performance. Whereas like Furia come out with Yan flip reset and double flip reset and everybody, then it gets a lot of attention from fellow pros and they give him his props and they talk about him. But like they're kind of not talked about. I feel like even some of the teams that they beat don't think that they are a good team. They still don't rate them.
I think that's just like an ego thing with players. Like you got to see more. You got to see more than once. Like that, you don't know if that's gonna happen again.
Isn't that the same as
definitely
what First Killer like said to Chronic? Like that's the copium. Like you're just lucky you got good teammates and stuff. I feel like all pros like you have to have an ego though to like it's like part of the copium. Like you still think you're the best
what did you say? What was the Chronic First Killer thing again? What did First Killer say? Chronic.
Didn't First Killer said something like you're so lucky to have Jack playing, to be playing with Jack and Nolly.
To be playing with Jack and Nolly.
Not like
Yeah,
some.
that's-
Honestly, I think anyone would be lucky. I'm heard
Are you
from
backing
I think it was
Oaly?
Chronic. Like Chronic said, I think it was on a Chalkcast or whatever. Like he wanted a troll or something like that, and then Nolly and Jack were like, "We're not having it." Like they made him
Yeah.
disciplined, serious, and want
He
to. Like,
wanted
actually
to. He
do-
wanted to troll scrims.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, it's time. I think you're right. Yeah, he wanted to. One time he wanted to troll, and they were like, no, we're gonna win because he was
That
getting
could-
demoed or something.
That could bite you though. If they're too straight and narrow, then he might not. I don't know. A little fun doesn't hurt every now and again.
It's a fine line though,
It's-
isn't it? Between like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's fine.
Between being Gen.G
It's
and
fun
then being
winning, but not that
NRG.
much.
Gen.G and fine line between Gen.G and NRG. Did he say?
Yeah.
What NRG?
Because I mean,
or one
NRG
series?
known for kind of just like dropping scrims in terms of like seriousness when things weren't when they weren't happy, right? So,
But wasn't
Mm,
it not
mm,
all
mm.
them? Like when somebody tweeted about a team trolling scrims, and then Justin replied, "Calm down, guys. It's not us this time." Like there was loads of teams doing
I think
it.
that was when Moist was
Oh.
doing it at the World.
There was loads of teams doing it. They're just like
yeah.
they're just driving around, grabbing boost, chasing demos.
CJ used to do it
pre-jumping
a lot
everything.
on Renegades.
Yeah, well,
Love
come
that.
on. I think like there's a fine line between trolling and just getting inside the other team's head. But I think some of the I don't know, it's hard because Gen.G clearly, well, they sort of give off the vibe that they never really troll. Everything's pretty serious. But then we've seen some other like top teams, like even BDS, like when they were in their peak, would not always troll scrims, but they would, I guess,
Pre-jump in, just instant challenge everything.
they just do whatever they wanted. Like, wouldn't really have much
Yeah.
structure. And then, obviously, you saw on game day they were like the most structured team ever. But I don't know. Maybe it is different teams. Like maybe some teams do need to have a bit more of a have fun meta play style, and then some need to be more serious. Chrome, like you said, maybe you boys need to go back to a bit more serious than too much trolling from Big Dan in scrims.
I mean, clearly, whatever Gen.G is doing has at least worked for all of fall split. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I can't.
Do you
really
think
criticize
that
them.
they seem like they're not putting their foot off the gas? I guess Chrome would know more than anyone else because I know like successful teams, NRG, a good shout, Power in OCE, put the foot off the gas sometimes in the off seasons and come back and get rolled. Do you think that they're still hammering hard?
I think Gen.G are kind of forced to take their foot off the gas. I mean, because I think Noli and Jack just recently moved. And on top of that, apparently, I think they're in LA doing content for their org, so they're not playing the game as well
no.
because of that. So I think that could
Right
hurt them
now,
this next
they're doing
weekend.
content.
Yeah, they had to go to LA or something. I think we're scrimming them. I think tomorrow, so hopefully we can scrim them. I don't know. I don't really know if they're going to cancel on us, but yeah, they're having to do content and all that.
Didn't they do that before the major as well? They were in LA before the Rotterdam major, just doing content. Like
Yeah, but
that
then
blew
they
my
boot camp,
mind.
though.
Well, it
It's-
still didn't it cut into their boot camp because they had to just fly in the wrong direction to do content, and that added to
mean-
their travel time flying to Europe. I was like,
wouldn't
out
say
of
it
all the
would've-
things Gen.G have done, that was the one thing I'm thinking that cannot be a good idea.
Yeah,
Like,
but
no one can
that is
persuade me
org
that's
side.
a good idea. Yeah,
That's
I don't
org
care. It's
side.
the org. I'm not, pointing a finger at the
Yeah.
org or the players or whatever. I just think that is a terrible idea. There's a LAN to the east. Let's fly west for like 3 hours and then fly that time back the way again in a few days. Like, what are we doing here? It's just
I mean,
additional
I
jet
can put it
lag.
to you this way. Gen.G could have said, we're not sending you guys out for an early boot camp unless you guys come do content first. So technically, it wouldn't have been eating into their boot camp time. 'cause
Surely they
would've
wouldn't have
none
done
if they did
that.
the content. I'm not saying they did, but it's just it's a way to think about it.
But they
Right, like-
also had 2 EU players that could just fly home and practice from home as an EU boot camp. Like they had some good options to be at a boot camp. I don't know,
What
There is a
content did they
slight
make? Hold
difference.
on. What
tub.
content did they make?
You do, like,
they
Photoshop
just
thing.
fly out there to do a hot tub stream. What else did they do? 'Cause
They were doing.
They did,
They did something.
They did photo shoots
Yeah, what-
and like other content in there.
they flew to LA
Well-
to do photo shoot. I'm sorry.
for the-
What? Don't they have cameras
the
in
jerseys
Texas?
and new merch.
Yeah, it was like
Do
the
they have
new
cameras in
merch drop.
Canada,
They
wherever
just
they were?
wore like the jackets, like the Mobile One
Could
jackets.
they?
Yeah.
They didn't want to just ship the merch
Good
to
of
Canada
them.
and like shoot it there. I thought Canada was pretty photogenic at this time of year or that time of year. My
I mean,
goodness!
if the
See, if they
players
lost the
don't mind
land, that
it-
would have been like legit copium that Gen.G were jet lagged because they flew to LA. Luckily, they won it, so they don't have to think that like that. But man,
I mean, if
They're just
Gen.G
flying
have
all
the
over the place.
facilities and the players don't mind the extra travel, then it's really not that big of a deal. I guess it just eats into a few days of actual scrimming.
What do you mean don't mind the extra travel? There's no way that if they lost, they wouldn't be mentioned by the player. If
No one wants
Gen.G
to
lost the
travel,
LAN,
yeah.
$1,000,000% they would say, oh yeah, we were pretty like jet lagged. We flew to LA. 100% they would have said this, but like because they won, they wouldn't get talked about. But it's just,
I don't know.
I'm just saying it can't be a good idea. I don't believe that could be a good idea in any world.
I'll be honest, like the Gen.G people like the players seem like one of the lowest copium teams I've ever met.
That's because they're
Yeah,
winning.
no, I don't think.
I mean, it might be because they're winning. You have a point.
Wait till they lose. You never know.
But also, like they seemed like they really love the org, so I think it's a great. It seems like a great relationship between the players and the org. This is the only thing that I'm surprised about. Everything else seems to be going really well for them.
Like they did have that series as well when they got smashed by FaZe in the groups or the Swiss. Like they were like
Oceania.
Down in the dumps, my life is over, sort of stuff. Up.
Oh yeah, when they lost Oxygen, you mean?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Oxygen. You know, FaZe. Yeah, Oxygen. They got smashed, and they were like, "Well, my life's over."
Yeah, we were chatting to them independently. I didn't catch the team right after that because I think I was casting another match. But I talked to Oaly later, talked to Jack later. I think I even talked to Chronic a little bit, and yeah, they were not in a good mental place that night. But luckily that was the last game that they played that day. So I think when you can go sleep on it, it's always better that you come in the next day fresh, which they did.
It was like
what did you think about that? The fact that like so many matches at LAN, like you play two a day, so you have a chance to just.
Oh, if they played again that day,
yeah,
if they played again that day, it could have been a really different outcome because they did not seem like they were in a good headspace right after that loss. But it's hard to imagine them being in a good headspace after getting destroyed by a team that they've got. Well, Jack Jory is a bit of history there, so tough loss. But yeah, they got to go sleep on it, so it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to segue to Oxygen because we're just doing it because I want to cover EU at the end. But we did mention just before we went live the elephant in the room. I feel like that no one's talking about, which I didn't even realize, is that Oaly doesn't have a team. He's gone from a major to like they went pretty well at the major.
And playing well at the major, yeah.
Well, they got made quarters.
Oaly played well as well.
Oaly played well in important series, so
and
it was good.
No team now. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm hoping that it's because he's like holding out for a really good offer, thinking that I did well enough that I don't need to settle for like a bubble team anymore. If I just like chill a little bit, someone's gonna choke this winter split, and they're gonna want to try me out. I'm hoping that's the reason that he didn't just end up teamless. I really hope it's not because he had a bunch of tryouts and they were all bad.
No, it was last second.
Yeah, it was super last second.
I heard Rise was going to V1 and then last second. I think the last day he said he's going to go with Oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
So Oxygen would have sticked if.
Yeah, most likely.
I think they'd already.
Oaly's only chance would have been to sign up with a completely unknown team. Essentially.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever sat out a split though? And like
marked by 8.
Well, that was. I feel like I guess it is the same, but he was sort of benched, like still stuck with BDS.
Was he not stuck with it because he was under contract here? I can't remember. Like they
tried to sell him, but his contract was too high from what I was aware of, at least.
His buyout, yeah. So I don't know if that's something that in that time frame, Oaly's probably got a buyout as well. Like, good luck getting all that done. So it might be the same situation as Mark Bite, where he just has to stick like as a sub. Is he? No, is he released? What is he right now? I forgot.
He's a sub. Yeah,
he's a sub. So it's probably the Mark situation then. Nobody's gonna like do a buyout for Oaly on the very last day of transfer window. It's just too much to do in one day.
John said Exotic sat out Winter Split. That's a good point, and then he ended up playing Worlds. So I guess it can work.
I think it's fine. If his other options was like a bubble team, like he might be thinking, what's that really doing for me? Low salary. He could just stay with the, like you said, the rep that he's got right now.
Just to confirm, by the way, he is not listed as an Oxygen sub.
Yeah, he's not. Did they release him?
Not. I mean, he might still be under contract, but he's not registered for RLCS with the team.
I probably
so he could still be owned.
Does he still get paid like Chrome?
Yes,
it depends on their contract, and it obviously could be
less.
Too.
Like half salary.
It could be less than half. It could be like it could be next to nothing. Like sometimes those clauses are very, very small numbers for subs. aka or
Yeah,
players that
if you
don't
have
put games in to the split.
if you have a contract and it says like, oh, as long as you're on the core roster and if you get moved to sub, this is what your salary comes. Don't sign it, because then it just gives the org a free way to kind of stop paying you, to drop
Yep.
you without
Yeah.
dropping you. It's the worst clause.
Or depending on the contract, they could have just released them because they were allowed to.
Yeah.
they could've
Yeah,
found some way to
that's
terminate.
also
So-
possible.
I mean, I was actively under an Oxygen contract for a while, and my clause at the time meant that I got paid like a month or two extra after I got dropped. So,
I think
I'm
it's
assuming it might be
still
something similar.
it feels like esports is very unique in that set. Like if you look at regular sports and they sign like a 3-year deal, even if they get injured or they want to get rid of them, most of the time they have to pay out their deal unless like someone else signs them. Like they can't just get rid of them. But I feel like most esports contracts, as you said, it's like either the org, like their contracts say like at the org's discretion, they will be able to release you and pay you like an extra month's salary, or it's an extra 2 months, or they can drop your salary to nothing. I feel like this is like such an esport thing, but it's just when you sign like a 1 year or 2 year contract, you're not really there's no guarantees you're gonna get paid for 1 or 2 years. Where I feel like in regular sports, you're kind of like safe. You know what I mean?
It also
That's
doesn't
because-
have the same value as a regular sports contract, because even if someone is like sitting on the bench in a big sport, they're probably still training with a team. They've probably still got a fitness record and all of these other things, media things going on. So there's still like high value to that player, and plus careers are usually longer. So even if they get stuck in a contract for a couple of years or they're just bench warming, they're still going to have value at the end of all that. But 2 years pro gaming, that could be like your peak been and gone. So there's less of an incentive for players to sign that type of contract in the first place, like locking them in for like money to do nothing. Basically, it's not, because that's great and all, but it's not the peak that they could be making and the biggest name they could be making for themselves actually playing.
So I mean, that brings us. I know we didn't talk about before the show started when we were discussing things we talk about, but what do you guys think of the Vitality roster?
The four-man
Yeah.
roster.
Speaking of
Yeah.
like a fourth person that you're paying, like because normally in sports, like you were talking about, you get access to all the training facilities, all the support that a team would have, and all that stuff. And now Vitality has 4 people who has access to.
Well, not
everything.
yet.
What is
right?
what
Third
does
split?
that what does that
Soon.
look like?
Oh.
No, it's the spring split. They'll have 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, what does that look like? What's the esports equivalent of like? Oh yeah, you get access to all our training facilities. It's like, yeah, you can come around the boot camp facility. We've got an Ethernet cable for you. We've got a monitor. You know, you
I
can
mean,
use
you
all
really
this.
don't, right?
Isn't that
Could
just
be
like
great.
what
Switch
these
out players and scrims.
Like,
Well, they want to do a 4-man roster, Johnny. You love 4-man rosters, so it would just be that all 4 of them would be scrimming, and they'd probably like try different rotations throughout the scrim.
I think there's potential in a 4-man roster, but I don't
There's no
know.
potential in
I
four-man
don't know if I
rosters.
believe it. No, I think there
I-
is.
I
Maybe
don't
not in the
believe it.
short term, but I
There's-
believe a
there's-
4-man roster
The
could
splits
work.
are too short. You get 3 events to perform. You can't just decide, oh, this event we're going to play as Radosin, and this event we're going to play with Alpha. Like, no, you can't do that.
I don't think
too
it's
short.
event wide though.
Yeah, I think
if
the
you do it
idea
right,
is
you
like,
do it mid series.
we struggle with this team. Let's use this player for this team, kind of thing, right?
I don't
Or
think
some of
it's-
the stuff, like
I
Rocket
don't
League
think-
is
yeah.
so one day you're doing well, one day
Yeah.
you're not doing well.
Yeah.
One day like a player's just sick. You know, we saw what that could do to a player like Arsenal at Worlds, where he's literally sick. Like having a viable substitute to play would be beneficial in that situation. But almost all the subs in the Rocket League scene are just not anywhere near the level, and they never get practice with the team. So
the
they're
way
just
you
not
described
gonna
it then
get
is like
subbed in.
that's like a substitute, not a 4-man roster would be sort of all right, this isn't working, get what's his name in, rather than like this guy's sick and clearly can't play. I feel like a 4-man roster is like pretty more fluid than just like our main 3's like sick or something. Like it's more okay, like there's a bit of a clash going on right now, or the vibes aren't quite there. Let's get in this.
It
guy, that
happens
guy.
it happens in MENA a fair bit more than other regions, because they've got very like strict exam like times. So sometimes one player on a team just will not be able to play an event because they're studying for an exams. Their family are saying, no, you're studying, you're not gaming, unlucky, and they just have to have a 4th player, or else they won't be able to play the event, because they're very, very strict to their school compared to other regions, it seems.
Weirdly enough, I was semi-involved in what looked like a 4-man roster back in the day, and my major experience is that you kind of have to always replace the same guy, because as you said, Rocket League's so fluid and crazy. The rotations are so important that unless you're really used to playing with each other and you can kind of like fit in similar-ish roles and just change up, like it just makes slight changes from you subbing in. If you don't do that, then it all falls apart anyway. So,
I mean, unless you just put in like a lot of effort into practicing with all different combos. But I feel
yeah,
like
but
that would
then
take
you're
a lot more
like
effort
you're
than-
draining so much time on scrims to like not be the best at everything. You're jack of all trading every single rotation.
I've
right?
got it figured out. Hold on. So you know how there's this like theory going around. I hear it all the time. But if you know, a team or a region get to play against a player or even a specific team many times, they figure them out. What if your fourth player never scrims? He's unfigurable outable. No one can figure him out because they've never played him. So like he's a complete wild card. They just play ranked with him. You know, they hop on the Smurfs with him, and then whenever they're losing, they just whip him out. No one's figured him out. Free wins.
Yeah.
Isn't that like what everyone said about
We
Secret
all
at the
tried that
Major?
with Jesse on
Isn't-
different teams. But,
Isn't that
you know, it
Secret
never
at the
works.
Major though? Everyone was like, we can't figure this Sam team out. They're not playing like all the other Sam teams. Like that's why they got top 4.
It's like Jesse at DreamHack.
Yeah.
It's Mystic Income.
Exactly.
That's
That's
it.
funny.
That is the biggest Cobian fit. Like, not real. I think figuring them out somewhat, like you know how they play. There's certainly an advantage in scrimming a team a lot, but the whole like we just can't figure them out or we figured them out is so. I think it's silly.
I mean,
It's
I
to say
think
that any
there's-
team is that one-dimensional is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
come on, everyone's.
I think there's something to be
everyone's
said
got
about
ways.
like scrimming and getting the repetitions in for not only like solo challenging someone or just recognizing where a team tends to do like a pass versus a solo play and that kind of thing. It's not so much that you're figuring out their entire play style, but you're figuring out trends where maybe you just have a better chance of predicting something, giving you an opportunity more often. And I think it's not so much that you're getting them to a T, but you're just getting the favor, like the odds a little bit more in your favor.
It also just gives you a switch up where it kind of like is a quick and easy way to change your play style, right? And so if things aren't working well, then you can do it. I don't think it's worth doing over just being better as a team though. But there is some advantages.
I feel
It
like
is.
that. I don't know. I feel like that only works if you have multiple games this season. Like if you're relying on maybe one loss or 2 losses, you can't afford to swap a player.
Hmm.
I don't agree with that. If you're afford like if it's like a league play type thing where you're playing like 16 teams or 15 teams, maybe the first couple games ain't going well, so you can swap it and then swap back later in the season. But if you lose once, you're in lower bracket, or you lose once because of the single M, and you're going down 0-2 in a series, it's like super risky to just outright swap someone.
I think from a mentality point of view,
Yeah.
that it doesn't help because you're like, oh, but if we just didn't play with this guy and we played with that guy instead, we would have won. And then all of a sudden, everybody's getting mad about who they're fielding. And
I mean, it could also be a mentality thing too. I mean, everyone like in the Rocket League scene now has never played like that. What if a team like starts like mentally training for a 4-man roster and it's no longer an issue, like getting swapped out for someone else?
Yeah, what if they've just got a Dominus player on the team and this? Like, oh no, they're bringing out the Dominus player. Like, who knows what they're gonna do? Who knows what they're actually hitting, what they're whiffing? It's gonna be a whole different game.
But back to Zen in terms of that specific roster. What
Mhm.
has anyone been? There's been a few players who've been massively hyped up. Like the first one was probably Justin. Probably say Squid back there,
Grub.
Justin. But has any player been this hyped up and not been like at least somewhat? I don't know. I don't want to say like top 5, top 10 in the world, but like
Aqua?
was Aqua as hyped up as Zen though?
No way.
No,
Aqua's
no,
not
no.
as hyped up
Aqua-
as Zen.
I
No.
was saying
Aqua was
Aqua's
also-
better than Daniel.
He was overshadowed by Daniel 100%
Yeah.
because they came out at the same time.
A lot of the
Zen-
plebs were definitely all behind Aqua.
So is Zen like? Is there any way he doesn't live up to, at least somewhat live up to what everyone's expecting? Like all the pros talk about it like he's just gonna take over.
No, he's a freak. He'll pop off.
My question is he going to be hindered by being on Vitality instead of a different top team like a Moist? Or
Oh, I think
Yeah,
for sure.
I hate the players are constantly signing contracts like so early. Multiple players like they sign it at the very beginning of an off season, and then they get like really good offers, but they can't take them because they've signed a contract really early and lock themselves in, or in this case, Zen's locked himself into Vitality for what I assume is some money instead of just waiting out and potentially getting
Oh,
like a really
It's a
great
lot of
offer.
money though, surely.
To be
I hope
fair,
so.
he just got paid to be banned. How sick is that? Like, I assume he got paid. Like, imagine you just got paid to be banned. That's a pretty good deal. You know, he's just like trolling ranked
Epo.
games. Never mind scrims. He's having a great time, so I can't really blame him. Plus, it's Vitality. You know, it's a big org in France, so you know, French players are obviously going to have more incentive to sign. I don't think it's a bad move for him to sign early and actually get paid.
Maybe he has
He's
a
not
mentality
bad.
if he wants to be the star player of his roster. So he wants to lead the charge for Vitality.
He's going to need to contend with number 6 in the world, Alpha 2.
Yeah, but you know what
really
he could have
good
done?
player.
The team that he could have been on, we're seeing it happen slowly because now we have 2/3 French speaking on Moist. They've made multiple roster changes. They could get rid of Joyo next split, do the full 3-man rotation of the entire roster, so none of the original players, and they could have had a full French speaking roster with Zen. He's missed out.
Joyo's got to see the writing on the wall at this point. He better be learning French. He better be taking his lessons. Bonjour and s'il vous plaît and all that. He's got to get on that because it's very clear signs in the Moist camp.
Wow, I actually didn't think about that. Joyo's in a bit of trouble historically.
Yeah.
No.
Like he's in a lot of
Historically,
trouble.
yeah.
He's the what show is it with the kid in the bus that's on fire? It's like chuckling like I'm in danger.
Well, The Simpsons.
That's Joya.
You forgot the name of the
I was brain farting. That's my bad.
Oh no. Oh dear.
I know. It's fine.
Mr.
Regain.
Little Ralphie. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if Zen's just getting the bag, I think that's fine. And I think it's not like Vitality's a terrible team. Like, well, they're not fantastic. They're not always top 5.
Hey,
and
they're
major.
thereabouts. They're in the mix right now. They're definitely in the mix. And they could get a top 8, could get a top 4 this time around. You never know.
Anyway, let's hop over. Let's get into some off-season moves / predictions. I guess we'll start with South America. Let's work our way west because we'll finish with Europe. It'll work our way. That'll be on this weekend. We'll preview the regional, but South America. I think John just touched on it earlier. We've got a couple of players. Speaking of players that are sitting out for this split, we've got Shad doesn't have a team. I'm scrolling back.
Shad doesn't.
Crazy.
Shad doesn't have a team. Is Math doesn't have a team either right now? Here we go. Shad is currently teamless. And so is Math, despite, they got released from Secret over Christmas. So they had a bit of time before roster lock. Math didn't get a team. And obviously the big moves right now is the Furia move. I guess you can talk that's North America. But Lost, hopping over well, actually, there's no water. He's just going north to North America.
He could go through the bay. He could.
Yeah.
Just
Thoughts on that move?
Gulf.
Lost joining the big region?
I can't criticize that from Lost POV or from Furia POV. I think it's smart from both parties.
You've
Well,
got a
Furia that
person
bad.
who's distinctly a top 20 player in the world heading over, so it's a good pickup for Furia.
I think Furia is still top. I don't know. I know they didn't make the major. I just feel like they got there a bit late. We talk about having too much time off because you're traveling, moving. It felt like they were warming up, and they were having close series against the major contending teams. I don't know. I think it's definitely an improvement if you look at like player on player. But did you guys watch the tiebreaker?
Yeah.
What did you think of watching Furia there? I know they got through
Their
Optic.
first match.
There was double commit City in the Complexity series. It was, I don't know, maybe it was like too many players that need the ball.
It's the complete opposite of Kaio, right? Lost is the complete. He's like the ultimate ball chaser. He's the most ball chasing player.
Extremely ball chasing.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of double. I think that's like one of the hardest players for them to just straight integrate. But Yan likes to hold back a little bit. He can play a more defensive role, be like that Vatira type player as well. So there's angles for them to go for.
He did that at the World Championship, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So there's
I could see
certainly
it.
angles for them to come together as a team, but very, very, very difficult. I don't expect them to do well early on.
I saw even
Really, like for regional one, you're saying you don't think they're gonna do well?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for them unless like there's a chance that like they just pop off, and it all sort of clicks together. But what I tend to find is in your first RLCS match, no matter how much you've scrimmed together as a team, when the pressure is on, people go back to defaults, and their defaults are most likely going to be overriding each other. And as you said in the tiebreaker, going double committing and whatnot. So
Okay.
I think once they've got that first event under their table and they kind of know, okay, this is how we're playing when we're under pressure, then they'll know what to change for the second event and hopefully really good, which I expect them to be.
Atlas made a good point in chat. This move is nearly like the exact same as Astral joining Moist, where you lose that sort of third man, where Vatira was kind of like, holding he was happy to be that third man. Same with Kyo, he was sort of just like filling in. And then you get an Astral, or you get a Lost, who's like, I need the ball, I'm going to use all my boost all the time, like, get me on the ball right now. I feel like it's the same, where they struggled as well online, and then found it, like the mechanics took over on LAN. So maybe it's a similar thing.
I would say it's similar. The difference for me is that on Moist, there really was no clear idea of who should be like, that guy sitting back, or if anyone can even be that guy sitting back, being like impossible to get past. But I think in Furia's case, Jan can do that. I think he's done it at World Championship. He showed that he can play that style very well. I think he's really, really underrated defensively. So I don't know. I've got hopes for them. They played one rough series against Complexity, but I've also heard that Complexity's been like underperforming like since the start of the season. Like they're supposed to be scrim monsters and just can't get it together in the pitch.
They're scrim monsters for sure. I mean, I feel like their season got trumped for the fact that they had some personal issues that first event with CR's dad in the hospital, and I guess I can't remember, it was second event or third event where CR had to go home for his visa, and they didn't even scrim at all for the third event. So I think their first split was completely chalked. So I honestly think they have a chance to make land if they are on top of their stuff. No other factors happen.
When you
Non-zero
say
chance to have 3 non-US dominated or
when you say
teams.
chance to have land to make land, like what's the ceiling for Complexity? Like you can't see them.
They're good, man. I wouldn't say top 2. I would say top 4. I wouldn't say top 2. They're really good though. They could beat anyone.
Agreed.
But yeah, we go talking to Furia though. At least from scrims, it's Card's third man a lot. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
It's not surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see that as well. Actually, that's a good point. That Card might be the one who's a little bit more like that's a new role for him because he's always been aggressive every event that they've played, every LAN.
He's taken some turns. He's taken some turns throughout the last year. Some of the majors being kind of stand back role for sure. So it's not out of the question.
He's not lost ball chase. He's never been lost ball chase mode.
No.
He's
I think Lost is the most extreme ball chase offensive third player in the world.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's a wild swing.
They definitely got to get their flow handled. Figure that out.
Didn't like Liquid had a really bad start to last split, and then they like managed to get it together, and they looked really, really good. They almost had Gen.G's number in the quarterfinal in Rotterdam. So I feel like that's a team that Furia could try and emulate or look to for confirmation that what they're trying to do could work if they are indeed trying to just outpace everyone.
It is a good comparison.
Yeah, Liquid for a while did not look like they were going to make LAN, and then suddenly they got it together. So we'll see. It's only been one rough series for Furious. I think for me, it's way too early to make any kind of assumptions. I need to see next weekend's regional.
So
I think
also with South America here, you've got if you watch South America and you see the club, that is not the club that you would have seen at the major. The club is now who have they picked up? Sort of
NIP
and Umbro.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I mean like the club roster now.
New roster.
But yeah, obviously NIP, NIP have picked up Astronomic Bands, and with Kyo joining, they've picked up the club roster. What do we think about that team? Former number 1 seed.
I'm excited.
I think Secret will have the number.
Like it, to be honest.
The split, but I think I like it.
Yeah, we'll probably see. You think so? Last season was Secret and Crew fighting for second. You think Secret's going to bump up and it's going to be Nip and Secret fighting for first?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think Crew's
I
pretty
do.
good too.
I just think Secret staying together is a huge advantage, and also just confidence from the major, knowing that they can play a certain way and win, is going to help them. But I could be wrong. They might not be able to play that way and win in Sam.
It's Sam, so
pressure.
you're crazy for making a prediction at all.
I'd
Like,
like
what
to
are you
see
thinking?
Crew make it. Just because
At least I
close
don't think Nip will have boost problems though. At least when I looked at the stats for the club last season, Lost took every single boost.
Yeah.
So I
But
think
he
he'll at least have
spends
some boost
so
to work
much
with.
time in the opponent's third that like most of the boost he's taking is theirs.
No, I mean he's boosting to his corner boost, taking his
Mhm.
own corner boost, and then boosting to the other corner boost. Is what I'm noticing.
Is he trolling competition? Like
He
we're hearing
plays
about trolling
Lightspeed and
scrims. Is he just
Offseason too.
trolling tournaments? He's just zooming around getting boost. This could be
He
his next level.
wastes an extreme amount of boost. And it's not even because he's stealing boost. It's just he lands and wastes boost.
He just needs it, man.
So do we think Secret now, based on top 4 at LAN, are like, what are the probabilities of being number 1 seed here? Or is it going to be another thing where they just can't get over like online? Or is it going to be a club like beating them?
Well, I
they
think the
have
big
to.
thing here is Ninjas in Pajamas. It's going to be a real unknown because they played so much around Lost that I think it's actually hard to know what they're going to do. And I'm assuming that BEMS is going to start being like a major factor for them on that team. But we just don't know what they look like in a new no Lost world.
So who's our top 2 then? Who we sending to the Winter Major out of Sam?
I still got Secret in
Ooh.
there.
I got Nip and Secret, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to back the same team. As unfortunately, as much as I'd love to say Crew, I've got to just stick with Secret and Nip.
Righto, well I'll go Secret and Crew, and
I reckon if Shad had teamed with Math and picked up a decent third, I'd have them in a good shout to like be in a close race for that. But it's kind of crazy that they.
Do they speak the
Here-
same language though? Because it's
No, they
Spanish and
don't.
Portuguese, so they actually don't speak the same language unless
Yeah,
one
I
of them
didn't think
speaks the
about
other.
that. Yeah.
All the top teams
Yeah.
are full of Brazilians. That's what I'm wondering. How is
Yeah.
Shad going to communicate with those guys?
Yeah, that's why it was usually like Brazilian teams, and then teams that were put together with Argentinian, Chilean players, and Peruvian players, around a few other representatives as well. Because everybody's speaking Spanish, I think, apart from Brazil, who speaks Portuguese.
point.
Shad comes Portuguese easily. Okay, yeah. Wasn't
So-
sure about
Yeah, I
that,
mean-
but it makes sense.
Well,
Would've
that could
been-
have been a combo
Would
then.
have been good because Math is. I rate Math highly online, so he hasn't had like the LAN performances, but I reckon you could get them to a LAN.
Hmm.
So most of us
Disappointing.
here have NIP and Secret. While we're here, I was going to go north to North America, but let's save that. Let's go to OCE while we have this we have a 3-horse race in Sam and Yummy Cheese Man, OCE specialist. Do we have a 3-horse race in OCE as well?
Power are going to 3-0 the split. They're going to win every event. If they don't, there's a problem. So that's easy.
Update
That's
on the
easy.
rosters for those not aware.
Power haven't changed whatsoever. KCP are gone. They dropped Super Lucky after getting absolutely dominated, the worst team of the LAN,
Unknown
worse than
third.
APAC. And they've picked up Hunter. Hunter is confirmed, at least according to Smash GG. So
Well,
How
we've
good is
confirmed it
Hunter?
now.
yeah, it's public information in that I looked it up on Smash GG. In fact, I know it. Yeah.
Hey,
Is-
it's the
is-
Smash GG. It's like that's public. Yeah, but they might have announced
Yeah,
it.
it shows what teams are signed up. Now that could mean that there's changes, but they've
Yeah.
been signed up with Hunter.
Is
so
Hunter like a hawk of the region? I don't think has he played before?
yes, yeah. He played last split. Last split was his first time being old enough, and he immediately came second in his first ever event. So
Oh wow, okay, that's cool.
Okay.
didn't
Island
quite
Pretty-
play as well as I expected him to, but he played really well. So that's obviously why he's being picked up by KCP.
He
They're
has.
just trying to keep.
What's that?
I was gonna say they're trying to keep their record as the youngest
Young.
team on average on LAN. They're like, nah, we're getting too old. We gotta get a 15-year-old again. Bring
Probably-
the average back down.
Probably the best pickup though. He, like as Yami said, he has some series where he looks like Daniel, but he just probably doesn't do it as often as you'd want him to. But if he can keep improving, the young fella, he's got all the mechanics in the world. He's, as you said, he's like Hawk until Hawk decided to go off the rails a little bit. Anyway, we've also
Well,
got
I think
What's that?
no, go on.
I was just going to say we do our third team as well, Ground Zero, who's just been announced.
Yeah.
Yummy. We've got a Super Locky joining the ranks with Fiber and Aka.
Well, I was going to say, I think that the other choice, you said Hunter's the obvious choice. I think the other choice would have been Fiber to join KCP. So a little bit interesting they go Hunter, but that's
Fiber
probably
already
more
signed
of a
though,
high potential play.
fortunately.
Yeah, he did that. He did the old.
He did the early sign to an
strat.
org, early sign, and then stuck with the team. People do this all the time.
Yeah.
As soon as the off season starts, they just scrim with one team, sign with them, and then all the other teams blow up towards the end of the window.
Yeah, well, they don't wait till the major to see if somebody has a rough performance to see if Super Locky becomes available or if Power drop a player, and want to pick you up. Oh wow.
But so our third team here, it feels like a 3-horse race. There's still some other teams below, but the third team, Super Locky, who obviously was pretty public that he got, I guess, dropped or left Pioneers.
He didn't say it explicitly, but it seemed. I don't know anything behind the scenes, but it seemed he got specifically dropped.
Which is, it's obviously interesting because KCP, it's one of those teams where you don't really, if you're trying to pick your best player, they all have their moments. So he certainly was in contention. He had some tournaments where he was clearly their best player. He's been dropped, and now we got a Fiber team. Fiber's always been cracked. He's won a couple of regionals here and there as well. Always up there. With all the
he's actually only
mechanics.
won one, right? Fiber, it's crazy.
He's always around the mark, always causing upsets. And then with Kaka, who's been the best player on the third team for 500 years, he's always there. And probably finally has a team where they don't have any excuses now. They could certainly contend.
Yeah.
But with everyone else's, I guess, limited knowledge, what are we predicting here for
Limited
OCE?
knowledge.
What are we predicting for the major?
Yeah.
Power
Johnny?
locked in. Who's our second team?
Oh,
I
it's
don't know,
easy.
man.
It's got you've got back young Hunter. He's gonna be eager to prove himself, and the team
don't
are gonna
even,
be eager to prove themselves again because they got thoroughly destroyed.
They don't even have a coaching team anymore. They got rid of both coaches as well.
Oh yeah.
So
Right.
I thought they dropped. Did they not drop everyone?
they dropped everyone except for the 2 players that they had originally.
It could, or so many orgs are dropping. Esports orgs are dropping just employees in general as
Even
well.
Ian
right
just
now,
got
so.
announced, for those that don't know.
Yeah.
He was the Optic manager, former Envy, former Cloud9.
Yeah, he's
manager.
been a huge force for managing Rocket League teams in esports. So
Few budget cuts in the global ending doom. But anyway, I'm going to lock in. I'm going to go Power Ground Zero. I'm not going to go.
You go
Pioneers.
Ground
I'm
Zero.
going to go Ground Zero. I'm going to back in Fiber with a good team. Super
I
lucky.
feel like the Pioneers just needed a mental reset. Like
yes,
they're still good. Their mental was like the deepest in the bin I've ever seen a team's mental.
Yep.
It was unbelievable. Like,
and they've been together since the end of RLCS as a trio. So run of a lot of its course.
Like see, when you go to take the bin out, and then you pull the bag out of the bin, and the bag breaks, and then all the bin juice just pours all over the bottom of the bin. That's where they were. They were in the bin juice. That's how deep in the bin Pioneer's mental was. It was bin juice mentality. So yeah, can't get any worse. That was no possibility that it's getting worse than that.
I think it's a good battle.
Everyone predicted?
I'll take KCP just because CJ went for GZ and because I'm known as a GZ hater. So
The Power's locked in. We're all happy with that. Everyone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll go Power Pioneers. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Love it.
I'm excited for Kaka because I've been wanting to see him on a good team for a long time. So
All right. We're going to hop quickly over to APAC because I don't think much has happened with APAC apart from the massive signing, Elevate picking up James Cheese finally. I don't know, Yummy, you might know more than me. I don't know if there's been any other roster moves amongst the top 3 or 4.
Amongst the very top, not so much. Nothing huge. But the problem with APAC is there's one slot and you know who's taking it, and that so.
All right, we'll
But
move
do
on.
you think the
too
fact
much
that
about that?
Elevate? Do you think the fact that Elevate have signed them will raise the region? Do you think it will perhaps lift the region to new heights? Or
Okay, that's too
No,
far. You're going
No?
too far.
no.
okay.
I think they can win a game next major, which they were very unlucky not to win. They had
That's
a lot of
good,
close
yeah.
ones. They looked good. They had some of the best 3-0 sweeps I've ever seen, even against Carmine. They had a tough one.
Yeah, it's the
but-
best 09 we've seen so far.
Yeah.
I think. The best 09 of all time.
It was interesting.
Um,
But anyway,
In essence, the
elevate.
top four have all stayed the same. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, we can move on then. We'll keep moving around. Anything crazy happened in SSA real quick? Same. Yeah, still that's a similar one horse race, isn't it? With 2 Dice Snowy.
Yeah, no, the teams.
Yeah, that's another super team.
One horse
region.
race. We got MENA, who nearly all got banned in a day. However, have all been unbanned.
Funny.
Rule 1 are still around. They're still kicking. Falcons. What do we thought? What are our thoughts here? One spot for the major and Rule 1. Is this a split? Is this a split where they
Did
get
you
it?
guys watch the? I don't know how to
Feels
say the
like it.
tournament. How do you say what's 3? There's a 3 in the name, Labeb or something. The
No.
tournament, the MENA tournament today. Someone in chat, how do you pronounce it? I don't actually know. I've seen it. It's LA3EB, right? It's the Twitch channel. But yeah, Rule 1 played Falcons, and they beat him 3-2.
Yeah.
Knocked him out.
Roll
so
one finally.
I think
First
this is
time they
rule one
played.
split.
Yeah, picking up Mosen's just like a great pickup. So
oh, it's Layib. So the 3 is like a different version of Yi. Got it.
I
Thank you,
heard
Tushka.
Falcon's been slacking off, man, from a lot of pro players that they schedule scrims with them. They don't even show up, and at least when we were prepping for them, they weren't even playing ranked. So we were super confident in playing them to begin with for our first match at the major.
Oh, yeah,
So they looked
didn't-
sloppy altogether.
They didn't look good at all at Worlds. in
Like
my
they
opinion.
weren't. So you mean when you're prepping for them in the major in the weeks in the run up?
Yeah, like apparently they weren't good in scrims, and then when Daniel or like even LJ and all them, when they would play them in ranked, I'd watch and like they didn't even look good at all. So we were like super confident going into that series.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel
Yeah,
like
they-
they're getting complacent.
They played when Rule 1 signed Nader right before the start of last split in the in Middle East region. They won. Rule 1 beat Falcons first time they played. Actually, they beat them twice in the first regional. They beat them in Swiss, and then they beat
Yeah.
them again in the grand final. Grand final was a bit better of a performance than Swiss for Falcons, but they still lost. And that I think like gave them a rude awakening, and then they like improved for regional 2. And honestly, from regional 2-3, they look like the best team. So it'll, I guess, we'll need to wait for first regional to see
don't
what
know.
kind of form they show up with. Because I think in their own region, I think until somebody like beats them twice, I think that's the new marks. You have to beat them twice, and then you can finally we can predict against them. But
twice
I
in
have to
one
keep saying-
split, or
Just twice. They'll have to beat them 2 regionals in a row. Because last time with Nader, they beat them 1 regional, then they lost twice. Actually, they didn't play them until regional 3 because Rule 1 got eliminated by Twisted Minds, who they've actually signed a player from now. Mawson joined them from the team that beat them in regional 2. So yeah, they beat Falcons today. I think I don't know what Twitch chat thinks about it, but today, yeah, Falcons didn't look their best, but they didn't look like as bad as they did when Nader beat them with Rule 1 in Regional 1 last split. I think they looked shocking in the Regional 1 last time. So if they can make strides like they did in their own region, I think Falcons should be fine. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
I just think Nader was a big handicap for Rule 1. Like just watching the Regional 3 match against them in the grand finals, he looked out of place. I rate Mawson a lot. He has a lot of experience. I feel like he's gonna be a great third for Rule 1. I feel like they're gonna take it. I
think
just
I-
don't see them not taking it.
to be fair on Nada, I think he played a lot better, especially Event 1. I think he was huge in Event 1. And
Yeah, no,
three
event 1
more
was
of an
his best one.
outlier.
Event 3 he was very
Yeah.
nervous, I think. So
Yeah.
he looked a bit out of place, but everybody eventually looks like that playing Falcons in regionals. Historically, they just do that, don't they? So you can't really blame Nader. I think he did incredibly well given the circumstances, but
Yeah.
Mawson's an upgrade for sure. He's an upgrade.
Can we all just so are we unanimously
Rule one.
agreeing that Rule 1 make
Rule
it the
one.
major?
No, I've got to say Falcons. I have to
Okay.
because
Johnny
they always
Johnny was
win,
the-
don't they? They
They
always
do,
make it.
Falcons.
They've won four times in a row, and they were the best like team for how many years before that? Like it just keeps on going. They've got the mental edge regionally.
It's like
I think it's a changing of the guard to the split.
it's like roulette.
I would've
Johnny.
s-
Red keeps coming. It's going to be black at some point. Red keeps coming up. We
Yeah,
just
see you
don't
guys.
care.
Yeah.
And then green comes up, and it's like Twisted Minds making
It's a
it. Or
different
something.
Somebody,
mindset.
yeah.
Like you're like surely this time, or you're thinking, well, it hasn't
Mm.
changed, so why would I bet against them? That's kind of like
You
the
know what would
debate right
be the Rule 1 winning would be the best thing for the Middle East region, I think, though, because that would give Falcons a real shock. Because if they got a shock in Regional 1 of last split, losing a regional for the first time, like they were going for 10 in a row and they lost the 10th one, and that like seemed to wake them up and they played much, much better for Regional 2-3. I feel like missing a major would really like give them a proper kick and bring the best out of them in the spring. And given, Rule 1 or someone else some LAN experience would be huge as well. So if you're a MENA fan, I think you got to hope the Rule 1 win this split.
Do you
Who's
think
not a
Rowan has a
MENA fan?
decent shot at giving them another world spot internationally?
now.
It's
I don't think
definitely
that's up
possible.
to how they perform. I think it's just we'll have to see what happens. Oh, no.
like-
Hopefully
'cause
they
you
get
said-
an major spot.
They went 1-3, so yeah, they have to work hard this next split.
Well, they came. So last season they got a top 8, and then they got dead last because they didn't even attend the Winter Major because of
True.
visa issues. So if they got 8th in the, if they make top 8, if the MENA team makes top 8 in the Winter Major, they're already in a better spot for getting a Worlds spot for the region than they were in the previous season. It's like the bar is quite low for that actually because they had such a terrible situation with the visas. So it's doable.
And now, compared to last season, the points for the second split and third split are comparatively a lot more. So there's a lot more emphasis on those later splits
Yeah.
in terms of getting extra world spots.
Also, South America both finished in the 1-3 in the fall split last season. Both their teams were 1-3, I think. Or no, one was 0-3, one was 1-3. So South America did that, and then they came back and got an additional world spot. So it's doable. It's season is
They've
far
already got
from
a top
over
four.
for
They're
anyone.
like such a good spot, Sam.
Yeah, but
for a
they don't-
Yeah,
Falcon.
South America
It's
should be
San
getting.
Diego.
They should
they're
be getting
screwed.
one of this right. We'll see.
Right then, let's hop over to your region, Mr. Roberto Gamizo. Tell us about how nothing really happened by the Fury move, whilst also everything happened at the same time. What happened in North America?
Yeah, the biggest move obviously was Rise was hinted towards coming to NA. And I think a few teams were definitely looking at him, and I think he was going to go with V1. So then once that happens, everyone is like, oh, we got to get calm. So then a lot of the teams, I think Optic mainly, were like, we need to get him. And it caused them to lose him last second, which was just a catastrophe. And you know how that goes. Now he's back on V1. And yeah, I got a cat behind me.
Yay, kitty.
Yay!
What's your perspective on that though, in terms of like, do you think it was harmful to the region, the fact that like everybody split up and then had come back together, or it's just going to be business as usual?
I mean, obviously, drama, like no one wants to get kicked last second, but everyone wants to win, right? Like if Rise has the potential to come to your region, you have a chance to get him, why wouldn't you take the chance? Like it's just smart in my books.
But
He's
imagine
a future world champion in my
Now
opinion.
Com knows he's on the chopping block.
imagine being calm right now, and imagine being Magic Bear.
Mm.
That mental has got to be like, they if they live through it, they'll probably come out stronger. But if you know you're on the chopping block, they're either going to thrive or they're going to die. One of the two. In game.
What's our predictions then? Early start of the split. Who's going to be the major? Based on what we've seen so far, based on the off season. Who are we sending, Johnny? Who are we sending? Who's our 5 teams? Just give me a hot take.
We're gonna send. Okay, let's go for Gen.G, FaZe. They're the easy 2, I think. Very too consistent and too good to not make it.
Mhm.
And then there's like G2, who you think should be a lock because they're G2, but they've been pretty up and down over the past year. So they only scraping in 5th the last time. I'd say they're not a lock, but I still think they're favorites to make it. I have to go Furia because I just believe in the mechanics of this team, even if they looked rough in 1 or 2 series so far. I think that the class, the star power in that team is going to be too good to not work. And then last spot, right now I have to go Space Station because Complexity, they beat Furia the other day, but they've choked so many big moments, they've choked so many open nets that I still can't back them to get a top 5, so I'll go SSG. SSG is too consistent in like Swiss. I think they're going to do well in groups. V1, a lot more vulnerable, had the calm debacle. I'm gonna give Fury a V1 spot this time.
Right, yummy.
I wanted to ask Chrome. I mean, you said multiple teams were looking at Rise. Did SSG look, after a rough major, to potentially make a roster change in the off season?
Anything was possible, I would say.
Okay.
Wow, they did.
You're always looking. I mean, that's
Oh,
come on. Let's
my.
not. I'm going to defend Chromie. There's
You've
always got one ear down. Yeah, one ear to the ground.
If you're underperforming, you're always looking to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
At least
How it
you
is.
got your head on a swivel, at the very least.
Arsenal is next, says chat. Well, yeah, no, I got Gen.G and FaZe as well. I think you're wild not to predict those guys. I've also got Furia, though they're very questionable because, again, I think that first event might make it really dicey.
You don't think they're just going to be on one day and win like an event, just like pop off?
Yeah,
that's the
hope. And I'm going to go SSG and V1 because I think
Wait,
it's
did you
hard
say
with
no
V1
G2?
making the change. No G2.
Wow.
Oh
No G2 for
my!
me. I don't know. The question in my mind is whether V1 are gone because of the com kick and re-add. But I feel like they're always just able to come out of nowhere, come top 2 at an event, and easily secure themselves. Everybody always underrates V1.
I think they'll be fine. I mean, they tried to kick Torment for like so many years, and he's been on the roster. So.
Torment has the best mental. That's why he's a
Situation.
World MVP. All right, he's got. Yeah, but I agree. Now they've been trying to kick Torment, and now Tom. Now Com got kicked, not Tommy. Tom then sort of gets kicked back on the team. I've been on teams like this where it's a bit airy-fairy, this sort of stuff. I feel like it's so easy to start finger-pointing now once things go wrong because of like what's happened. I think if they make the major, it'd be incredible. I know everyone always underestimates V1, but I think now
People say that every split.
Yeah, but now they have a legitimate reason to not play well. I feel like
they had the ultimate dream bracket you could ask for as a team, like the easiest runs, like the teams you want to play, like playstyle wise, and they dropped the ball against Secret. That's like a dream matchup for that team.
Yeah, I thought that would be.
Yeah, I thought Com was going to get like a new demo world record if they're like sitting in net, but
he was on goal like
shoot Johnny
series and
they just didn't shoot.
Yeah, they didn't.
They just put it on the crossbar, backboard, off the post. That was a weird series. But look, I'm going to go Gen.G FaZe. I think they're a lock. I don't think they're a 1-2 lock, but they're just going to be there. They're always going to be up there.
Lock,
Same with Space Station. You guys always just make it to playoffs. And I think in a competitive...
Except in the first split.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but
last year.
You guys, in a competitive region, just your consistency will pay off, assuming you guys will keep sort of somewhat consistent. So I think you guys will be there maybe 4 or 5. I really think it's a race between G2, Complexity, Furia for the final 2.
NRG, CJ? NRG?
Now they got a new playstyle. They're going to play really fast.
Yeah, they're going to play fast.
I'm going to go
G2,
and I'm going to go.
What the hell?
I'm going to back...
G at all?
No, I'm back in Complexity in. I might have recency bias what I saw from Furia. I'm off I don't know. I want to be on the Furia train, but
all it took was one series. I don't believe this.
If I'm gonna
forsaken your king,
listen. If I'm gonna think that Furia are the same as Moist, and Moist barely scraped in as well, then maybe they just don't get it. They're close. They're right on the edge, 5th and 6th. Complexity are gonna do it with their longest standing roster. So I'm gonna go that way. Big call though against my king. What do you got, Chrome?
Against King Card.
I don't have Furia, man. Their defense is way too questionable, at least from when I watched them in the tiebreak and then when we scrimmed them. And I just feel like a lot of the other NA teams are just way more structured than them right now. They have to. I feel like they'll have a pop-off event maybe, but I don't think they could consistently do it for this split because it's just too big of a playstyle change for them. You're putting Card as third man from what I'm seeing. It just does not look good. If anything, I think if Complexity probably takes a spot. Hopefully we take a spot. Gen.G might have a rough go this first event because they're going to be under practice as a team. Maybe I'm just thinking too much about that. I think Gen.G still makes it. I think G2 makes it. And then that 5th spot.
You said FaZe.
V1.
He hasn't said FaZe.
5th spot FaZe. Yeah, FaZe will take it. I don't think V1 makes it. They're way too scrappy last play than that kicking from Com. kind of nail in the coffin for that team, I think.
And Chrome on the same page, massive. What Jazo? What do you got?
All right, you got Gen.G, FaZe, and SSG all locks, right? Now the final two
Is
spots.
SSG really a lock?
I don't think SSG
For
is
me,
a lock. But
No
I think
shot or
for me,
SSG a
for
lock.
me.
There's just
No,
no
I
way.
think
We're
so.
definitely not a lock, but I think we have
I
a-
believe.
I think
I
we're
believe.
gonna
I put you in
this
as
split
well,
and
but not a lock
split.
though.
Chrome, you're third
Me-
to 7. So I'm going to give you
Also,
the benefit
especially
of the
after
doubt.
what Chrome said about how they absolutely tried to bench Arsenal, like I'm not saying they're lucky.
Put
Arsenal
words
in his
Okay.
mouth.
What did I say?
It was
Don't let him
LJ?
get to you,
Oh
Chrome. Don't let
my
him get to you,
goodness.
Chrome. Don't let him get to you.
Okay,
He's
leave it
words
there,
in
Chrome,
his
leave it
mouth.
there.
worse.
I know
They
LJ
tried
had a
to-
little roughy, but come
They tried to
on.
bench LJ. Oh my days.
Wow.
He's
Chrome,
never
he's
going to
putting words
bounce
in
back
your
for
mouth,
that
don't listen.
mentally. Split one. He already
Listen,
is.
we're more of a team now than we were last split. I'll tell you that much.
Listen, for
We're in
me,
better
for me,
standing this split, so I'm more confident this split than I was last split.
for me, SSG is making the major, like
Oh.
hands down. FaZe and Gen.G higher chance, but like I have like 90-95% chance SSG makes the major. Now, what's weird for me is the next two spots. If you know me, you know I'm like an NA stan, and I would normally say V1 and G2, and just kick Furia and Complexity out of the top 5. My problem is I want to say like that Furia and G2 make it, but I would not be surprised to see a V1 Complexity both take the 4th and 5th major spots.
So that's
Wait,
what
so
you're
you're predicting 4 different teams to take the last 2 spots.
I think they're all going to be very close. I mean, it's not. I mean,
So
predict
who you
no,
picking?
but
If
G2
you're
and
true
Furia,
in Andy, you'd
the
take
order,
NRG.
but I can't knock V1 and Complexity out.
You
I'm
can't
just
say that's like me saying I
I
wouldn't be
can.
surprised if one of the 15 teams took
Yeah,
the last one.
saying. No, because I mean, you say like you could say like Energy or Optic. I don't think they have a shot.
So a
But-
lot of people are in chat are saying Optic. So
Optic, I don't know. Optic could be. I
Riddle
think
fans.
Optic are more likely to be in the bin than V1 based on the whole roster move situation.
100%.
Just because
Yeah.
Magic Bear, like at least Con is still a confident player. Like Magic Bear was lacking that, I guess. You know, just go do whatever you want to do. He just felt like he was always on an island last man, and they're like, just don't stuff up, like sort of mindset. And then they're trying to kick him. I feel like he's going to be lacking confidence, the poor guy, which I love him. I'm a big Magic Bear fan. Everyone knows in scrims he's a triple flip reset freak, but I think they could be in trouble. I think they could be in a fair bit of trouble. I hope they're not, because good lads, but it'll be interesting. Anyway, that's
it's
NA.
nice. It's nice to talk about NA and be unsure though. I
It
feel
is
like that
nice.
hasn't happened very often in NA history.
I disagree. I want the super team to happen, and I want to know before the event starts who's winning. Then, like T-Bit said, then you don't even have to watch. It's great.
That's a
I would
good.
still watch though.
I have to ask Chrome real quick. All right, Chrome.
Yeah.
In a hypothetical world, because there's a lot of talk of super teams. In a hypothetical world, we have First Killer, Beast Mode, and Daniel on a team. Do you think that one, it's good for the region, and two, would they be, sort of a dynasty team, or would they be as dominant as, they could look on paper?
I mean, I think super teams are good for the scene. I mean, look at BDS, look at Energy with Turbo, Energy with Squishy. Like, it levels up the competition at the end of the day. So, I think it's very healthy for the scene.
It's also
actually
fun,
good?
and it's not
That's another question.
necessarily like going to be successful. Like FaZe Clan, I remember First Killer, AJ, and Sypical, a bunch of Redditors. Obviously, they're Redditors, but were saying that it's unfair that they were allowed to have those 3 players and stuff because they were such a super team.
Yummy, it was
it didn't
beyond
work
like
out.
Redditors. It was like the entire scene. They won one regional, and everyone is like, "Who let these guys team together?" It was not even when it was Sypical, when it was AJ and First Killer team together with literally anyone, and everyone's just like, "That's not fair. Who let this happen? This team's gonna dominate NA." They won one regional. Everybody's like, "Yes, he told you." Like, I feel like this happens so many times with FaZe in particular. They get new players like, "Oh, it's raps," and then they just.
I don't think it's
never-
a super
doesn't work.
team with their roster right now. I think if it was Season X, it's a super team, but I think they're a little bit past their prime.
Yeah, I don't think it's a super team either, but I mean, it depends what your definition of a super team is, I guess. Like, what constitutes a super team? Is it like the 3 best the players in a region? Is it like 3 of the top 5 in a region, or is it like 3 of the top 10, 15? Like,
Super team to me is like what Seiko and Monkey Moon on the same team. That's a
yeah.
super team to me.
I
They're
think
like even Justin and Garrett for so long.
Yeah.
And then picking up Turbo, the top 5 LAN player at the
Like
time.
it's really clear to see, like in other regions, like Furia made a super team, dominated Sam last season, won 6 regionals. Falcons had a super team, they won all 9. Like those are like regional super teams, and like the first OCE team to do really really well. Alan was a super team as well.
For
Had Drippe,
Sydney.
Kami, Tarsos.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was like, was it the 3 best at the time? It definitely could be.
Yeah,
Before
at the
season
time.
season 6, yeah.
Yeah, they got
When
first
they
place,
formed,
so
they weren't a super team. They kind of became the 3
But
They
best.
became
Cheeks
a
with
super team,
Tami
became
was a
3.
super team because they poached
Oh,
the
yeah,
best
yeah,
player
yeah.
on the second best team and got rid of the worst player on their team, Jake. So yeah, they
Yeah.
did form. That was a super team.
Poor Jake.
Yeah.
Poor Jake. He deserved it
Jake.
though.
I would love to see it, but what do you think about this? So I think it would be good because even if they do dominate, that would be good for the scene because there's a lot of North American Rocket League fans in the scene. How cool would it be for them to just have an NA team utterly dominating the competition?
Be awesome.
Like in a way that no North American team ever has. Like no NA team's ever dominated like a Gale Force or like an OG flip side. So I feel like are there any other like truly dominant teams for OG Rocket League other than the old Flipside team and Gale Force? For me,
Energy
that's
with
where the
Justin,
list stops.
Fiber, and Garrett online.
The
Turbo
online,
energy.
sure. Online, sure, yeah.
When Turbo joined NRG, I actually like got worried. As a team coach manager, I was like, how are you supposed to beat that? And that's the kind of feeling you want, or you would want. Like that's the kind of feeling you would want to instill in other teams as a super team.
That's the same.
Still
with
though, the
this.
gap between them and the next best teams didn't seem to be that massive. Like Reciprocity and some other LANs had very good showings, and there was like no 2 teams won the same LAN, or no team won 2 LANs in a row for ages in that era until I think NRG did it with BTS and Worlds, the Turbo Energy. But yeah, maybe NRG with Turbo is the most dominant, but it was for quite a short time.
I mean,
also
that was the
think
team
that-
that made me feel the most fear out of any of the NA teams I've ever seen.
I also
pop up
think
before
you and I
today.
have different definitions of super team, Johnny, because I think I think of a super team as a super team, and you're thinking of them as like a super team, because
A
like
super
that
duper team.
Dignitas roster was like just a dominant team. But when I think of like people talking about super teams, to me it's like the 3 best players from a region being placed on the same roster, like Furia when they picked up Yan, they just picked up and had the 3 best players.
Like if
and
you had
so-
taken Justin Squish and Jane Apps back in the day and put them on the same team.
Yeah, it's harder to do in NA because it's also like a little bit more easy to argue. The field is a little bit closer. You know, if you had the three best players aren't necessarily the 3 best players, but then also if you had the next 3 best players on the next team, the skill level would be really close. That's why we see a lot more super teams coming out the smaller regions where you might have Ahmad, O'Khaled, just picking up their 3rd and then having not like a huge gap in skill before them and between them.
Oh
and
yeah,
the
because
next
TRK
level.
used to play for a different team. He played
Yeah.
actually, funnily enough, he played for Falcons before they were before the now Falcons were Falcons. So he played for Falcons with a 4-man roster, and he was probably the best player in MENA. But then Ahmad and Khaled were clear number 2, 3, so they just picked up TRK, and they were by far the best team. So it's kind of similar with the Yan for Furia, where Yan was the best player in the region, but Hard and Kaio were very clear number 2, 3. So they just grabbed him. They're like, that'll work. Let's just pick up this guy. Complexity have gone to North America. Well, the True Neutral have gone to North America. Yeah, dominate. Absolutely dominate. I'd love to see it for NA. That would be sick. I'd love to see it for NA specifically because it happens like naturally in Europe anyway with the language barriers. Like you just end up with French super teams. So I think it would be cool to see an NA team do that as well.
That lineup as well is like the obvious, like as if you're talking about like the best players from a region on a team. That's a team that if it came together, everyone's thinking, how do we beat that team? Like, what is their flaw?
Do you think they would dominate though? I don't think they would dominate worldwide. I really don't, because like they're the 3 best players in North America, but I don't even think they dominate NA though. Like, well, it depends on what you
They
think.
make everyone else
they'd be
worse.
Depends
number
how
1.
well they play together.
But
as a
Gen.G are
team.
so good. I really rate Gen.G, and I think that I think Furia and NA can also be a monstrous team, like talent wise, and honestly match Daniel Beast Mode First Killer for talent mechanically. If not surpass them, honestly, because it just
team-wise
depends.
for sure. Team-wise for sure is a question mark. Because like
No.
talent-wise, obviously the best in region, but Gen.G's
Yeah.
shown that doesn't mean everything at the end of the day. So
Yeah, I don't think they dominate. Definitely not worldwide. There's just no way. Like it's just too stacked now.
and then
Somebody
Milan's a
also
different ball as
asked-
well.
Yeah.
Somebody also asked if Gen.G is a super team in APAC with the imports, and you'd have to say they are. That they're probably the 3 best players in the region right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though they're imports, they are in that region, and the only kind of people you're looking at is on Gaming Gladiators to be close to them, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're clearly the APAC super team.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it'd be great for the region, or just great for the esport in general. You know, we had a bit of discussion about it on Chalked. You know, when you look back in history about other sports, you're looking at the dominant players or the dominant teams in any sport is sort of the ones you look back. You know, you don't look back and go, wow, how good was that year where everyone beat everyone? Like no one cares. Like in the moment, in that year, it's good, but no one really cares.
It feels good to be in it. But you don't remember it.
Yeah. The historically relevant seasons and the historically relevant teams and players are like the ones that went undefeated, the ones that were the most dominant. They're the ones who get the most fame, the most money, the most everything, and like take their sports to the next level. So yeah,
I mean, why was season 6 talked about so much? They're gonna toss undefeated all the way up to the grand finals, and they play Cloud9 and lose.
Mhm.
That's the most talked about finals.
Exactly.
Probably.
And yeah, even before that, for like the previous like 6 to 9 months, they'd also been crushing the competition. So it was like a whole year of just being by far the best team, always top 2, winning multiple events, and just rolling the competition. Like they were just making it look so easy at times.
Yep. I'm gonna maybe one day it will happen. Maybe contracts won't let it happen, but we'll see. That's NA though. Let's go over to EU. Let's finish off there because we've got the first EU regional this weekend. The first weekend of the winter split. We're starting with EU and South America. Is South America this weekend? Usually in the same.
Yeah, I think so. It's South America and EU.
So the Europe region, Johnny, what's happening in Europe over the off season?
Right. So Oxygen have like the 300 IQ'd everything because they got Rise to just mess up every NA team's mental and then join them. So suddenly Oxygen looked like the best team. They just won what event was it? The G1 ran an event and Oxygen won it pretty easily. So yeah, good job Oxygen. But yes, yeah, that's a
did
super
KC
team.
play
Sure.
on that? I didn't really pay attention.
Sorry, what?
Did KC play on that?
BDS didn't do well though.
I don't think KC played. Did they?
No, they didn't.
I don't think they played. Yeah, BDS played and they lost to Moist. Who else did they lose to? Moist
Oxygen as well.
Yeah, Oxygen.
Oh, they lost to Oxygen and Moist. So yeah, BDS did not play up to the standard that I'm sure they would want to play at. But yeah, Sonics played very well. They came second. They beat Moist twice. So that's the former Monkeys roster. Arju, Matane, and Smokes, which is crazy to see them doing that well. That would be awesome if they can replicate that in tomorrow's games.
But no other moves apart from the top team.
Yeah, just got the big one, and then of course Moist had to fill the Rise gap, so they grabbed Juicy from Heat, who I rate very highly. So I think Moist. Honestly, I think they're going to be fine. I think this is a playstyle match for Vatira. Maybe less firepower up front, but Juicy's a very smart player. I think he's very solid. So I rate that acquisition very highly.
Give us your 5 then.
5 teams. Got to go Oxygen. Got to go Carmine Corp. They're the no-brainers. I feel like they're the clear top 2 locked in. After everything that's happened so far, and then yeah, Moist more of a question mark, but I back them. I'm gonna back Moist to get top 5. The question mark is BDS. You know, before yesterday, or was it yesterday, 2 days ago, but BDS played that tournament. I was leaning BDS to make it, and now they've lost. I'm thinking, do I relegate BDS? No, I think I still have to back BDS to sort it out, to solve their problems. And yeah, I think Liquid will get in as well. I'm going to say Liquid still. So I'm only switching BDS in for who have I dropped? For Quadrant, yeah.
No G1? No improvement there for you?
I think G1 are going to be in the... I mean, they're in the conversation, but I just right now have to back BDS still because they lost like community tournament, but it's a community tournament. So I'm going to say BDS. But you've also got like Vitality in there. Sonics, if they produce the form they had this past week. There's a lot of very solid teams. Tundra hit a good run of form. Very, very stacked like pack there.
And Quadrant, who's the sort of
And Quadrant, yeah.
We talk about the Quadrant as the V1 of NA. No one predicted them to make the major. They made the major.
Yeah.
They went okay. Obviously the cannon popped off, but then, this is only a tournament. But this weekend they got swept by BDS and they lost to Tundra. What are the chances of them making the major again?
I mean, I think they're in the mix, but I think that was like an upward trend for them last split to get into the major, and they didn't get in comfortably. It was close, so yeah, I think it's going to be tough. They got beat BDS again, which, in fairness to them, they did literally do last split to put themselves ahead of BDS in points. So well done. Quadrant.
I think they're like really consistent, so that's going to be their path. Then is to like always make top 8, and hope that other teams kind of fall apart, like happened last split.
Didn't the groups come out actually? I forgot to mention. Didn't BDS get the?
Oh yeah, they did.
group of
Yeah.
death? Luckily,
BDS has a group of death. Yep.
Yeah, they got the group of death, but they just need to not finish last. So,
Oh yeah, that'll be
should be fine.
Quadrant got a favorable group too. They got Liquid, Tundra, and Vertigo.
Righto. I'm gonna, before we dive into that regional, I'm gonna go quickly top 5. I think that KC and Oxygen are just a lock. I think they're a minimum top 3 for both those two teams. And then I think Liquid are going to be a third team. I think Moist will start figuring it out. They'll be number 4. Number 5. This is like NA. There's always 3 or 4 teams that are sort of. BDS, they have to make. It's so hard to go against them, but they can't not make 2 majors in a row. So I'm going to go BDS, bouncing back just 5.
Yeah,
G1
it's not an easy one. Yeah, as you said, Carmine Corp and Oxygen is a lock. I definitely think Rise is an upgrade, despite how well Oaly played at the major. Rise is just a huge upgrade there. Hopefully a good upgrade for online, and as he's kind of alluded to on Twitter, gets to play more of his play style, so he might get to see more of like Winter Major Rise come out. I'm a bit of a Liquid fan, so I have to back Liquid, and we could have had a very different world if Liquid managed to win Game 7 against Gen.G in terms of our opinions of them. And then do I back Moist, who only just scraped in and then came second? Yeah, I'll back Moist, and then I'm gonna take G1 as my final team.
Okay.
It's hard to have full faith in BDS, but they could easily just win the entire split. So that'll be interesting. And I was impressed by like G1 early on in last split, and hopefully they can find that form.
They've got a great group this week.
True.
Who have they got?
Solary, Williams, and more.
Yeah, although, maybe people are underestimating Solary. Williams have shown that they're quite good. And obviously, it's just nice because Moist is probably beatable for them.
I think those are 2 teams that could easily flip a switch and then overtake the group. Probably not both at the same time, but
G1 could win that group.
Yeah, same.
Righto, Chrome, give us your top 5 for the major.
I definitely have Oxygen, KC, top 2. I think Liquid snag a spot. I want to see Vitality makers. I want to see that 4-man roster come to fruition. I want to see what this topic's about. I think Vitality make it. 5th spot. 5th. Ooh, this is tough. Did I say Moist? I'll go Moist.
So is KC, Oxygen, Liquid, Vitality, Moist?
I think BDS. The only team that's ever came back from the slums was G2 back in season 8, and BDS have just. I'm sorry, they have not looked good. They got a very unfigurable bracket.
Was split 1 that
they were in the slums. I'm sorry. They're
you
in the
miss
slums.
a major.
They go to Game 5 of every single team, and then lose this recent tournament. You got to show me more. And then they got Oxygen and German Amigos teams. I think Oxygen is the best in the region right now, and I think German Amigos they lost to like twice in the last split. Guild, I think they could beat that team, but they got a very unfavorable bracket this first event. So we'll see. But I just
The question is, does anybody have quadrant?
None of us did. No.
I think it's
I don't think they're
quadrant is the EUV one. Everyone's
They
gonna
are
be dropping around.
UV1. Yeah.
They really are. Yeah.
Well, Jarzo, finish us off here.
I mean, yeah. KC, Oxygen, whatever order, both top two, locked, easy. I give Liquid a shout. Up there in the third.
Posty.
I put Moist up there as well. I still don't see enough out of BDS yet. So I'm gonna go G1 because I want them to do well. Just personal feeling. And I think they will.
Not seen enough of VDS, so I'm gonna go G1 because I won the wish.
Which I'm right. No, I'm just kidding. No.
No German
in the
egos
water.
either.
I think
Anyone?
G1 has potential. And like I was rating them pretty highly before, not like super high, but I definitely thought they could have done something more than they did last split. So I'm hoping just giving them some time, they'll actually do something this split.
Recap it for me.
KC Oxygen, Liquid Moist, G1.
Yeah, the same as me.
Everyone's around
Nice.
everyone's around the mark. It's like NA. Everyone's sort of maybe one.
I've still got BDS. Does that mean
I've
that
got
the NA
BDS.
equivalent would be picking NRG? We're like back in NRG still. Are we like back in the old boys?
That might be.
I think
Are they the old
BDS are
boys? They
more
won
likely to
Worlds?
be NRG.
No, I think BDS have a higher shot than Energy.
Yeah.
Or is
That
that
is
like
true.
back in G2? I guess it's like back
Yeah,
in
it'd
G2.
be like back in
Yeah.
G2.
Which I did, so I guess I am just rooting for I'm predicting the teams from
To be
last
fair, I
season.
think it's somewhere between backing NRG and backing G2 because G2 did just make the major and they still look fine, you know. So.
No, they got smashed by Power.
they did get
they
smashed
did
by
lose
Power.
3-0 to Power, which
Yeah,
doesn't make sense.
Kind of cringe.
And
Yeah.
Power got perfectly swept by V1. So I mean, it doesn't look good for G2. But interesting. Yeah, we've got some nostalgia picks. I think BDS will make it. This weekend, though, to finish off here, we don't want to keep everyone too long. We've got the Europe Regional 1, so we're going to cover that. We love covering E. And we have groups now. So new split, new format. We have 4 groups of 4. And then have 3 making it out of the group. So the winner of each group goes into... or straight through to the quarters. Yeah, straight through the quarters, second and third, down in the dump.
Well, you know what's interesting? Assuming Oxygen and Carmine Corp both win their group, they're going to be on the same side of the bracket according to Liquipedia. So, of the single Elam bracket, they'll be in the semifinals.
Wait, what? What does that mean?
Is
That
that
is a
just
little-
some
wait,
that is a little
noise?
questionable.
That's not right.
How did Oxygen get Group D instead of Group C?
Hold on.
Yeah, that's not right.
Is Group D and C
It's
backwards?
AC. It's meant to be A and C and B and D.
It reminds me of
It's
season 7.
seeded.
Or the
No, do you know what? That's actually right, though. Do you know why? It's because, Liquid will be seeded ahead of them because they're tied with Liquid in points, and Liquid got their points more recently, so Oxygen
Yeah.
are 4th seed. That's correct.
Oh, so the actual participant list is a little backwards. So Oxygen are 4th.
Yeah,
So-
the
Yeah.
participant list is, I think, like using Oxygen Liquid alphabetical order to show.
Oh.
But yeah, Liquid actually have the tiebreaker on them.
Damn you, Liquipedia, a third-party app that's not the Rocket League website that we all. Look, so this week it's going to be interesting though because everyone's picked Oxygen and KC 1-2 for the major, but this weekend, as we said, they're pretty much guaranteed to not be both in the grand final if they win their group. Well, they're not.
Well,
if they
as
win
long
the
as
group.
one of them's in the grand final, and like one of Moist and Liquid slip up before the semis, then Oxygen can be fine. Even if they lose in the semis to KC, they can still like leapfrog Moist, I guess. How many points do you get for a semi over a quarter? It's like 4. So actually, that wouldn't be enough. Okay, so they're hoping the Liquid slip up. If you're an Oxygen fan, you want to see Liquid do badly so that they can get on the other side of the bracket from KC next time.
Wait, first is not like 5 points ahead of
It's 4
second.
points,
You
yeah.
don't get an extra
It's only-
point.
So now
What?
in this split,
That's weird.
What's going on?
yeah, that's
here?
crazy.
Hey, what's going on?
Always
So
get
now
an
in this
extra point.
split,
Wait a
you don't
minute.
get that extra point leapfrogged. If you get
Wait a
a
minute.
first
Winning's
place.
just one more place. It's not an extra point. Nah.
Yeah.
This is actually similar to what it was last split, where winning was it 3 more, and so was semis. It was just 3-point jumps. Oh no, wait, that was only at the
winning
major.
was
Then it was
you got an
matching.
extra entire point. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got a whole extra point. It was like, so last split, quarterfinal was 6, then semi was 9, second place 12, winning 16, and then this time it's 8, which is obviously more, but 12, 16, 20.
4-4-4 the whole finals.
I think that's a mistake,
Yeah.
right? Surely.
has to
Yeah,
be a
it's
mistake.
Should be 21,
You
guys.
can't have a tiebreaker
21,
where
yeah.
one team won a regional and one team didn't win a regional to like you always have to favour the team that's won a regional. That's the whole point of the extra point.
Especially in a
I'm
single
surprised by
elim, it
that.
feels like, because first to second is, like getting first is like the point of single elimination. So
Well,
you
right
should
now,
reward that the most.
a team finishing like first and then 2 quarterfinals would have, just for this split alone, obviously not adding the other split points, they'd have 36 points, which you could get by just making semis 3 times. So first, fifth would be the same as third. Exactly the same. And the problem with that, actually, whether or not you think that one or the other is more impressive, is that this will probably lead to more ties. There's just going to be a bunch of teams that are likely to be tied because all the point jumps are the same late in the tournament.
Wild.
That's like
Yeah. I didn't notice that until we just looked at it now.
Yeah, there's going to be so many tiebreakers, and I don't know why winning a regional doesn't. It obviously gives you 4 more points, but it doesn't give you an advantage over other placements, like point spread. Very weird. But look, we
I'm looking
can
up
complain
Spring
about
now.
that. They're not going to change it. I'm going to give the top 4.
Give the winner another point. They need 21
Give
points.
another point.
What is 20? Give him another point.
I'm
It's
gonna
the same in winter. It's the same in
I
winter
think
as
we would
well.
have done with V1 because if it's the same format, because
Why would
V1
they have an extra
had one more
point for
point
the
than
first
us.
split and
and
then
last
not
split.
have it in the next 2 splits?
Yeah.
It's actually all of last season. The winner always got more points. So the final was always worth the most points. This
Was
time
it
the
also
final is worth
last-
the same as a quarterfinal. They're getting scammed. Like the finalists are getting scammed. The winners are getting
Spring's
scammed.
Spring's the same.
Yeah.
It's a 6-point jump from 4th to 3rd, but then an 8-point jump 3rd to 2nd, and an 8-point jump from 2nd to 1st. I don't know.
Man, they're so sneaky, aren't they? They thought we weren't going to notice, so they took a whole point away.
There's got to be
Well,
so
like-
many
like-
tiebreakers.
They just took
The
that
interesting
point.
thing is,
Where do you think it is? Where do you think it ended up? That point's probably somewhere else. They've just like moved it.
They moved it
They
to.
haven't told anyone.
last season, right? It was like
SSA.
300 points to 351 points. So that 1 point was a lot less impactful for Worlds. I'm
But
guessing.
not tiebreakers for the split. It's still big.
Yeah, but not tiebreaker. Like this is like destroying
Guys,
tiebreakers for
you're
the
not
split. But
gonna-
maybe.
Did it go to quarters
No.
or top 12 to top 8?
Chat, you're not going to believe this. I've just checked Wikipedia for the NA event in a couple of weeks. They've moved the bonus point for winning EU to winning NA. They've just moved it to NA, so NA gets two bonus points now, and EU doesn't get any. It's a complete scam. I don't agree with this at all, and I'm also not serious before anybody actually opens Wikipedia. But yeah, I don't think it's fair.
I mean, I was checking. Just
Oh,
in case
you
that
know
was
where the
actually
point
a
went
thing.
to? It went to if you get top 8, because last split you get 2 points for making top 8 compared to getting top 12. Now you get 3 points from top 12 to top 8.
Ooh.
Whoa! Top
Right.
8.
No, but look at Falcon.
Isn't that
Yeah.
just because all points are more? Like there's more points overall.
I think.
I mean, that's where the point went, because it jumps to 4 after that.
Yeah, we were trying to find the point that's missing. What's the point doing?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't
what
get
is the point,
of it.
Johnny?
Yeah,
What's
I
the
don't
bloody
get the point of
point?
this whole thing. It's
Yeah.
we might need to.
I
talk
miss
to
the
some
old days of
people.
RLCS when we got an extra point.
I really think they've missed a point here.
Yeah,
They've
I
missed
think
the point
they've
of
missed
this.
the point, and we might need to get behind the scenes and talk to some people that know some people. But
Mm.
this weekend,
Mm.
EU Regional 1, we've got 4 groups of 4. So obviously your predictions are going to be mainly based on the RNG of groups. I'm going to predict my top 4 though for the weekend. I think Oxygen are going to win it. If they dominated the first regional last split, they're going to dominate the first regional this split based on how they're looking. They're a honeymoon team. They're not a honeymoon team, but whenever everything's going well, they look unbeatable. Oxygen first, Liquid second. Carmine are going to get third. They're going to lose to Oxygen in the semis, and then fourth. I want to go BDS are going to be in that 4th spot. I want to get back them to get in the semis. Bounce back.
Okay. That's a Group D. Where will they be?
So maybe
I
they
guess
come
it could be
second in
either
Group
side.
D and then end up on the other
Well,
side.
actually, they couldn't if. Would they be? Yeah, they could be on the other side.
Yeah, it's possible.
They would
it's
be on the
possible.
same side as Liquid if Liquid came first in their group, though.
Yeah, and Liquid are making the
So-
final, so they're beating.
So
the
they'd have to
Pistons.
come. No, the quarters. They'd be versing
Ah.
them quarters.
Well, anyway, can I go
Your
G1?
bracket's impossible.
Can I go G1, or are they on the same side as well?
Can I go?
let's
Nah, the
see.
bracket
Can I
has to
go
be
two?
possible.
Yeah, no,
There must be a
G1
way.
are fine. G1 are fine. You can put them in top
Alright.
4.
Going
No,
G1.
wasn't his initial bracket okay
First
as
in his
well?
group.
Oh no, you'd have to have them
They
going through
play
Carmine
Liquid
Corp.
in
Yeah, it's tough.
He didn't have
getting
Moist,
third.
so he's fine.
They,
yeah.
they could get third, couldn't they?
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think they'll win.
I'm
there.
going G1. I think they'll win that bracket.
Oh.
I think they'll win
Hmm.
Group B. So yeah, they'll get semis. There you go. That's my bracket. Who wants to go next?
I'll do the same as you, CJ, but with Carmine Corp winning instead of Oxygen.
Like
I'll
it.
do Oxygen wins, KC top 4. I got Liquid in the finals. They beat Vitality in the semis.
No mice, so we Vitality in there. I'm gonna be really boring and say that all of the top
Top four
seeds win their
seeds.
group. Yeah. They made fun of us for saying, CJ, that the Gen.G were gonna win the LAN because they're coming in as a top seed, and top seeds never win LANs. But this is illogical. You should never
It's
just
the
predict
season for
for
Logic.
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
never just predict for a team's going to lose because they're the top seed. That doesn't make any sense. I think all the top seeds are going to win. But actually, I do back them to win. Looking at the groups, I'm like, I fancy the chances of all these teams. I think that they've all got good matchups here. Like the fact that Moist and Liquid didn't get the group of death is what makes me more confident about that.
Yeah, I think Moist wins their group, and I think they lose to Vitality. That's where I get my Vitality top 4.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You'd have to say
That'd be a good series.
Liquid have the best group, just on paper, to win.
It depends because Tundra have actually been playing quite well recently. So they qualified for this through Swiss 3-0, and so did Solary actually. So it just depends how you think those matchups are going to go.
And I
think Moist are
definitely
going to
can
like
see
playing
Liquid
Solary.
playing bad and Quadrant you being like just fine enough to beat them too. So like Liquid are an up and down team.
I think if there's one team that I'm the least confident about winning their group, one of the top seeds is Liquid, even though just because they're so random.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thunder have been playing quite well recently, and
You're
Quadrant,
less
you never know.
confident in Liquid than you are in like an Oxygen getting overtaken by BDS
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think Oxygen and Carmine Corp are clear right now. They're my 2 top
for
teams.
their groups.
And then
Okay.
Moist, I like their matchups there. I like their matchup versus Solary. I don't actually know what it is like win-loss off the top of my head. I think Solary, like I've played them close a few times, but I think Moist are going to win that. I think they're going to beat Williams Resolve, and then it's like just the Moist G1, like round 3. Probably going game 5 to finish off the group. But I'm back in Moist.
All right, Jazzo, what do you got then?
I'm the same as Johnny, basically, for at least
Top 4,
getting all the top of the group. Yeah.
Who's winning?
I mean, I keep trying to convince myself that like there's a team somewhere in one of the groups that might take it over, but
Who you got winning?
I think Oxygen win.
From? Versing?
The other side, probably Moist. Probably. Is that possible? Or am
Yeah.
I stupid?
How
That's
cool would
possible.
that be?
Yeah, that's possible.
Oxygen
Yeah.
Moist, the rivalry
Yeah,
first
Oxygen
up.
Moist.
Is that better than
Well-
That'd be a juicy grand finals.
Why not both? We could have the semi-final El Splashico, right?
Yeah.
BSC on one side of the group, or one side of the bracket, so you could have
So
both.
now
Yeah,
we've got
Splashico
Moist
move.
v Carmine, Moist v Liquid, and Moist v Oxygen, all like technical rivalries based on either past moves or the El Splashico. Well,
But wait, see if BDS finish second place in Group D to Oxygen, they'll be in, and Liquid win Group C. BDS would be in the Liquid bracket, so that's probably the one they'd want to be in. They'd be against like Group B third place, which has to be a winning matchup surely if you come second in Group D, and then you got probably Liquid, or in the quarters. So the path is there for BDS. It's there to the regain path.
I mean, they got 3-0'd
exists.
last time they played them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
See.
Liquid though. It's Liquid. They're so
Yeah, you're right.
they're so shaky. They could be insane.
Their
They could
mech's
be
not on.
complete garbage.
sometimes the ball chasing works, sometimes it doesn't. Righto then, that's our predictions. Any final thoughts? I think we've wrapped up pretty much all the off-season roster moves and EU this weekend. Final thoughts? Maybe prediction from
Big
Sam.
off-season move is that finally the last season's last splits titles have been handed out. There
Oh,
you go.
massive. Thank you for letting us
Huge.
know.
No worries.
That's annoying.
Everybody's starting to tweet it right now.
I'm
Oh,
going to
so it
finish
literally
it
just
off
happened.
by saying I think Secret are going to win this weekend.
Yeah, I got Secret.
I back it. Yeah, good take.
Hey, Chrome.
Might see
Yeah.
Nip later on. in the
It's hard
split.
to go Nip. Yeah, I'll go Secret as well.
Breaking the mold. Go Nip.
I'd like to see Nip do well. I think it's awesome to see a massive org like that joining the scene, and they picked up a pretty good team as well. So good to see Kyo land in a good spot as well, the great one.
Yes.
Still kicking around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolute legend of the scene. But that's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for the CJ Show episode 8. It was beautiful. Thank you very much to the guests, the beautiful guests. Very, very handsome Johnny Boy and Yummy Cheese Man. Thank you to the co-host, Coma Jarzo. We'll be back next week. Watch parties this weekend. Tune in to EU. That's all we're going to say. Tune in. And next week we'll be covering the EU results and NA Regional 1. But here we go. Winter Split is upon us. And let's see how wrong our predictions are. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.